So this happened about 3 years ago, and I gotta be honest with you right off the bat, I wasn't even there for most of it. I was over at a buddy's place that night, so everything I'm about to tell you, I got secondhand from my mom the next morning, and she still looked kind of shaken up when she told me. It was my mom, we'll call her Denise, and my older sister Casey. Casey doesn't live with us anymore. She's got her own place across town, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's not exactly the safest part of town either. Chain link fences, half the streetlights busted out. That kind of neighborhood where you just keep your doors locked out of habit. Casey had come by our place that evening to hang out, and she ended up staying way later than she planned. So it was already pushing midnight by the time my mom offered to drive her home. Now the drive from our place to Casey's apartment isn't short. It's maybe 25 minutes, cutting through some back roads before you hit the highway that takes you into the city. My mom didn't think anything of it at first. Just another late night drive, radio on low, half paying attention to the road. That's when she noticed the headlights behind her. At first it was nothing, just another car on the road. No big deal, right? But then she took a turn, this random side turn she doesn't even usually take, and the headlights turned too. She figured, okay, coincidence, whatever. So she took another turn, a totally different direction just to test it. And sure enough, those same headlights swung around right behind her, keeping the exact same distance like they were tethered to her bumper with an invisible rope. My mom said her stomach just dropped. That feeling where your whole body goes cold before your brain even catches up to what's happening. She sped up a little. The car behind her sped up too. She slowed down, testing it one more time, just to be sure she wasn't imagining things. The car slowed down right along with her, matching her speed almost perfectly, like whoever was driving didn't even care that she'd noticed. Casey saw it too. She said later she just sat frozen in the passenger seat, staring at the side mirror, watching those headlights hang back there in the dark like something patient. Something that wasn't in a hurry because it knew exactly where they were headed. My mom didn't say a word to Casey, just gripped the wheel a little tighter and started thinking through the fastest way to the highway. She took a hard right down a street she barely knew, tires practically screeching, and gunned it toward the on-ramp. For a second she lost sight of the headlights behind a curve, and when she checked the mirror again once they were merging onto the highway, they were gone. Just gone. No trace. Nothing. She dropped Casey off, waited until she saw her get inside safe, and then started the drive back home alone. The whole way back, she kept checking her mirrors every few seconds, half expecting those lights to show back up out of nowhere. They never did. By the time she pulled into our driveway, she'd almost convinced herself it really was just some random guy on the same route. Nothing more. She got inside, locked the door behind her, and sat down on the couch to catch her breath, still feeling a little rattled, but starting to relax. That's when the pounding started. Not a knock. Not someone politely rapping on the door to get your attention. This was different. This was fists slamming against the wood. Hard, fast, over and over, the kind of pounding that rattles the frame and makes the whole house feel like it's shaking. My mom said her heart just about stopped in her chest. She said later that some part of her brain immediately knew, before she even opened her mouth, that this wasn't some neighbor needing help. This felt wrong. This felt like something had followed her home. She bolted upstairs, practically tripping over her own feet, and shook my stepdad awake. We'll call him Gary. Gary's not the type to panic, big guy, ex-military, the kind of calm that comes from actually knowing how to handle bad situations. But even he said later that something about the way my mom looked, pale, breathless, eyes wide, told him this wasn't nothing. He got up without a word, walked straight to the closet, and pulled out his shotgun. Didn't load it dramatically or make a show of it, just checked it was ready, the way you'd check if you had your car keys before walking out the door. Then he walked downstairs while that pounding kept going, relentless. Like whoever was out there wasn't planning on stopping until someone answered. Gary reached the front door and cracked it open, just a few inches. Just enough so whoever was outside could clearly see the barrel of that shotgun angled toward them. Standing on the porch was a man. Tall, thin in a way that looked more sickly than athletic, wearing a hoodie that looked damp, like he'd been sweating or maybe walking in the cold too long. His eyes had this glassy, jittery quality to them, darting around like he couldn't quite focus on any one thing, including Gary's face. And even with the shotgun right there in his line of sight, the guy didn't flinch. Didn't back up. Didn't even blink. He asked, real casual, like this was a totally normal thing to be doing at almost 1 in the morning if Gary had any jumper cables. Said his car broke down a little ways down the road. Gary told him no. Sorry, don't have any. The guy's face kind of fell, and then he tilted his head, that same jittery energy behind his eyes, and said, come on man, I live right down the road. Can you just give me a ride into town? And that's when it clicked for Gary, the way he explained it to us after. See, we live way out, almost 20 minutes from the nearest town. Out where the roads don't have names so much as they have numbers. And houses are spaced out so far apart you can go a mile without seeing another porch light. If this guy really lived just down the road, why did he need a ride into town this late at night? Why not just walk home, since he was already close? Why show up, pounding on a stranger's door instead of calling someone, or walking the rest of the way if it was really that short a distance? None of it made sense, and the more time that passed, the more Gary felt this quiet dread creeping up his spine. That instinct that tells you something's off long before your brain can explain why. The guy must have noticed Gary hesitating, sizing him up because his expression shifted. That awkward smile crept onto his face, thin and stretched, not reaching his eyes at all. He looked Gary dead in the eye and said, come on man, it ain't like I'm trying to rob you or anything. Then he laughed. This short, hollow, off-rhythm laugh. The kind of laugh that doesn't belong to the joke it's attached to. The kind of laugh you hear from somebody who said something like that before. To someone else. Somewhere else. And it worked. Gary didn't laugh back. He didn't say anything at all for a second, just stared the guy down. Then he pulled the door open the rest of the way, raised the shotgun a little higher so there was no mistaking what it was, and told the guy, flat out, no more talking, no more questions, that he needed to get the hell off the property. Now. The guy's whole demeanor snapped instantly. No arguing, no more weird laughing, no lingering. He turned and bolted, sprinting off the porch, down the driveway, and out onto the dark road, disappearing into the night like he'd never been there at all. Gary stood in the doorway for a long minute after that, shotgun still raised, watching the empty road, listening to the sound of footsteps fade out completely. They never saw him again, but here's the part that still messes with me, even 3 years later. About a month after that night, we get another knock at the door. Different night, different energy, but somehow just as unsettling in its own way. This time, it was a woman. Thin, twitchy, clearly strung out on something, screaming this name over and over into the dark, like it was the only word she had left in her. Annabelle! Annabelle! Gary opened the door, saw the state she was in, glassy-eyed, swaying on her feet, practically vibrating with whatever was running through her system, and told her the same thing he told the guy a month before. Get off the property. She didn't argue either. She stumbled backward, nearly tripping over her own feet on the porch steps, muttering something under her breath that nobody could make out, and half ran, half staggered back to a car parked crooked at the end of our driveway. She fumbled with the door for a few seconds like her hands weren't cooperating, finally got it open and took off down the road, tires kicking up gravel behind her. We never found out who Annabelle was. We never found out if that woman had anything to do with the guy from a month earlier. Maybe it was two completely unrelated incidents. Just bad luck stacking up on a house that's way out in the middle of nowhere. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe there's some thread connecting the two nights that we never figured out. Some reason a stranger showed up, pounding on our door in the dead of night saying he lived right down the road. And a month later, some woman just as frantic screamed a name into the dark like she was looking for someone who might have ended up exactly where he said he was headed that night. Either way, my mom still won't drive that route alone after dark. And Gary keeps that shotgun a little closer to the front door than he used to.